What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So we have a financial crisis that nobody is talking about, and I want to bring it to your attention because it's extremely important. It's from this channel called DW News, and it's titled The Financial Crisis That No One is Fixing. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I want to comment on this as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe. That's it, and now let's begin.
It's the slowest moving financial crisis of our time. It's igniting tensions and threatening to upend the way our societies are organized.
The retirement crisis.
Around the world, countries' retirement budgets are going bust. Governments are steering towards a huge retirement savings gap in the coming decades.
Yeah, we're gonna be screwed, okay? There's no better way to say that than just being honest, ripping off the Band-Aid. Social Security is running out. It's going to run out. There's simply not enough workers out there making enough money to fund the Social Security that was set up for older generations. So that is gonna be a tremendous issue. The only way to fix that issue is to either get paid out less, in which case you're making less money in retirement than what you paid in, essentially. It's a big scam. Or they raise the taxes on new generations to pay for the old. It's a terrible system. The other fact of the matter is, besides home equity, people have very little money for savings. So that just means that they're gonna have to work later into retirement. So instead of retiring at 65, they're gonna work until they're 80. They're gonna have a part-time job to keep up with health insurance because otherwise it's gonna be too expensive to pay for on their own. It is a huge issue throughout our economy, and the fact of the matter is, unless you start saving today and you're in your 20s or early 30s, you're going to have a lot of catching up to do.
The old age dependency ratio in rich countries is soaring. That's the percentage of retirees compared to people of working age.
So more economic burden is falling on a shrinking group of working adults.
You know what? Part of the issue too is that younger generations are not having as many kids. Okay? So you have an aging population who had kids, and those kids are not having enough children to keep growing the population at the same speed. We kind of set up this business model where it really relies on the population growing over time. And the more people, going into the workforce, the more money is going to be made, the more we have to produce. But it's almost going in reverse. It's almost like the population is really tapping out. And so we had this whole design around, it's supposed to keep growing. And what if it doesn't? Okay, for the last 100 years, we've all just assumed we're going to keep growing at the same trajectory. What if it doesn't? Well, then they say, developing nations, they're going to keep growing and they're going to be advancing, so we have a lot of potential there. That's true. But in, countries like the United States, population growth is probably going to be an issue.
The purpose of pensions was to stop older workers doddering around the factory floor and the farmyard, reducing the productivity of younger workers.
So if they want to speed things up, they basically tell people, all right, we'll pay you a little bit every single month, and then we'll hire more young people, and we'll boost productivity. That's very interesting. I thought it was because people just were incapable of working, or maybe, their age prevented them from earning a consistent income.
Now, pay-as-you-go pension systems are the norm in the OECD, with an average retirement age of 64. Pay-as-you-go means today's workers are paying into the system with a portion of their income. At the same time, today's retirees are drawing out of it. The goal is that citizens eventually get back what they put in.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible system when you look at how much money you're spending in Social Security. And if you just did the math and said, okay, if I just didn't contribute to Social Security and I just took the money and I invested that instead, how much would that be worth over 40 years, over 50 years? How much? So much more than you would ever collect. The break-even point is so skewed. Like, you would have to live so long. Like, you would have to live to like 110, 115 years just to break even on some of these things if you just invested on your own. Now, the rule for it is to say, well, you know what? People are terrible with their money. To expect that people would diligently invest their money over 50 years and not blow it, it's probably better off for the government to handle it for everybody else, because otherwise they're going to be left with nothing, and we can't have that. So I get the pros and cons, but for people that are just responsible, my gosh, it's just, if the government could take away all the waste and just say, we're going to take this money and we're going to invest it in a fund, even if the fund just takes 1% a year, that would be so much better off than the current system that just absorbs, it sucks money. There's still like 100 people involved for like one decision. Why? Why is that the case? It's just wasteful spending.
There's basically only two ways to solve them. You increase revenues or you decrease spending, or some combination of those two.
See, but they're going to spin it. Okay, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The government is going to say, hey guys, we got great news. Back when we did this whole retirement thing, people weren't living as long. But now, because of how great we are, the average age of death is now 90 years old. So because of that, and because we're so advanced, the new retirement age is going to be 75 instead of 70. I'm just throwing out numbers here. They're going to spin it like that. And then they're going to say, well, because of all this good news, we're starting the retirement age at 75, and that means we start Social Security at 75 too, because you live longer. Yay! And people are going to be so confused, and they're going to say, well, wait a second. Yeah, maybe they're right. We're living longer. So, good news. Okay, great. And then on top of that, they're going to say, hey guys, we got to up our taxes because the government revenues aren't the same as they used to be, and taxes are a little too low, so we're only going to tax the rich people. People making over $1 million a year are going to pay the tax. And 99% of people out there say, yeah, that's great news. We live longer and we tax the rich. That's fantastic. Well, guess what? Eventually, it's going to trickle down, and then all of a sudden, oh guys, everyone making over $100,000 a year, we're going to tax you an extra 1% Social Security. Okay, fine. And then eventually they're going to say, all right guys, everyone making over $20,000 a year, we're going to tax you an extra 0.5%. And then it just increases over time. Then they say, oh, we're also going to adjust that to inflation. And then before you know it, people making $10K a year are getting taxed a little more on their Social Security, and they're paying into something they don't need. So there you go. That's my rant.
Toyoki Yamada is one of the many Japanese elderly returning to work to supplement a meager pension. The 73-year-old used to be a sushi chef. Now he works as a gardener.
体に合ってるというか、そんなに疲れはしないです。
Here's the thing though. Part of me feels that work should not be frowned upon. It should not be a negative that someone at his age wants to go to work, wants to keep busy. Frankly, I think that's kind of important. I generally see when people retire at an older age, mentally, they just go downhill so quickly. I think it's really important to have, not necessarily for the income, but have that stimulation, have that challenge, go out and do something, have something to wake up for every day. I think if you don't have that, people get lost. They decline so rapidly. So I think from that perspective, I think having something like that could be beneficial. Now, obviously, being forced to do it if someone's incapable, that's bad. But in a lot of these cases, I think continuing to work can be helpful.
More and more governments are pegging retirement ages to life expectancy. Some, like Portugal and Italy, plan on deferring retirement to the late 60s or even early 70s by 2050.
What did I tell you? They're going to say,
Well, in the past, people only lived to 75, so retirement was 60. But now that people live to 100, then we're going to make the retirement age 80.
that's what they're going to say. It's based on a percentage of the life expectancy. They're going to spin it that way and then up taxes.
How long we live is linked to social and economic privilege. In the UK, for example, men in white-collar jobs are expected to live 6 years longer than those in manual jobs. In the US, white men live around 7 years longer than black men on average.
Now, I'm curious, as far as the manual labor jobs, is that because of injuries associated on the job or job-related incidents? I have a feeling potentially yes, because they even say left-handed people live less than right-handed people just because all the products are designed for right-handed people and there are more accidents associated with people, using right-handed equipment but they're left-handed. So I'm curious if that plays into it.
That means it's much easier to contemplate working longer if you have a desk job.
Why is she sitting in the lawn with a gnome? She's got two gnomes right below. This seems like a very unnatural position. She could be anywhere. She should just be at a conference or something like that, Sitting in a normal Herman Miller chair. Why this?
Age discrimination means older people struggle on the job market. In a US study, respondents aged 50 and over overwhelmingly agreed that their age has stood in the way of their career chances or even cost them their job.
Yeah, the other advantage, though, is younger people, you could pay them less. That's really, I think, what it kind of comes down to. Yes, younger people will be more probably up-to-date on softwares and coding and computers and things like this. But when it really comes down to it, I just think they say, all right, we could pay someone who's just out of college or university, we could pay them half of what we pay the other guy who's 55 and has been doing this for 20 years. So we'll just save half and we could hire double the workforce for the same price.
Governments have failed to prevent holes in our pension system. At the same time, we will likely continue to live even longer. That means it will fall on people to take personal responsibility for their post-work lives with their own savings.
Yeah, it's a twofold problem. Number one, the government is just irresponsible with money, okay? That's a given. Second, people are also irresponsible with their money, and they're relying on the government, who is irresponsible with the money. So people have to really make a conscious effort to do their best to increase their income. Save a portion of that. Live below their means. Try to make smart financial decisions for decades and hopefully have that compound so that eventually they would be able to retire.
How can we make people feel more connected to their future self? And so part of the work that I've been doing is to trying to inject that emotional bond, inject that sense of responsibility for our future selves.
I just think you show them the numbers, okay? You say, hey, if you invest $5 a day, over 45 years, you'll be a millionaire. Given, of course, the stock market has done a 7% return adjusted for inflation with dividends reinvested, here's how much that is. And if you could just do that at the base minimum, that is what you will have. Anything else will be gravy. So I think just showing people that, we're showing them the tangible results. If you save your money, eventually you could do this in 5 years, 10 years, have different rewards and milestones that people can hit. Once you're on the path, it's so hard to get off. It's just you enjoy it.
In 2011, Hal conducted an experiment where he created a virtual reality in which participants could meet their older selves as avatars. Participants wanted to save twice as much for retirement as the control group.
Well, it's probably scary, though. You see yourself in the future like that. I've seen some of those age filters. Part of me, it just looks forward to, I don't know, like I like old people in general. I think old people have a lot of cool stories and wisdom. I get along really well. If you're over the age of 70, that's my vibe, you know? We have a lot of same interests. So I kind of look forward to that one day.
Recently, we're exploring asking people if they want to save just one more penny on every dollar they earn. That feels easier than asking them to save another percent or another 2%.
Yeah, you know what? I wish, like I was about to say just a roundup feature, but it's too bad there's not like a government roundup feature where like every dollar you spend, it just rounds up. This rounds up to the nearest dollar, and then that amount is put away in an account that like you could reach for emergencies like that, but otherwise it's just invested in a broad market, no one touches it, low management fees, and it's just there for you at the age of 65. That would do so well, just round it up to the dollar. I mean, nobody cares about the cents anyway. You buy something at $7.94, just 6 cents in the account. It's just automatic, don't think about it, and it's there for you at 65. Or in emergencies or certain situations, you could cash out. If something happens to you and you pass away, it goes to your next of kin, and if you don't have that, it goes to, something like that I think would be fantastic.
What the experts we spoke to revealed is that despite its leisurely development, governments have so far not solved the problem.
Yeah, I mean, why would you trust the government to solve anything, right? I think there's so much potential there. It's just bureaucracy. It's these people lobbying for certain things. It's all the people that they have to, too many cooks in the kitchen. If we really come down to it, too many people making decisions. We need just a few good decision makers. They just raise their hand, they cast a vote, and they do what's in the best interest of the facts and the studies and the people, and that's it. If they just do that. Sounds simple, right?
The world's richest countries are facing historic demographic change. Now, some worry that the cornerstone of the modern welfare state is at risk. Others see it as a logical reshaping of our working lives. One thing we do know, our golden years might be a lot less leisurely than we have come to expect.
Yeah, so let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I think it's going to be a crap show, okay? It's a serious issue. It's not going to be addressed properly. And just anticipate, you got to take matters into your own hands. You're going to end up paying more in tax, and the benefits are going to be reduced. If you just plan with that, anything else that happens is going to be a benefit. It's going to be good news. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. As always, feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, and don't forget that you could get some free stocks worth all the way up to a few $1,000s with a paid affiliate link down below in the description. I get a commission when you do that, of course, but you also get some free stocks. So enjoy those free stocks. Let me know what you get. Thank you so much, and until next time.